Hello, Philadelphia Rebels fans, and welcome to the first episode of our weekly Coach's Corner show. I'm Andrew McGuinness, the play-by-play voice of your Philadelphia Rebels, and each week for the rest of the season, we're taking you inside the Rebels along with head coach Justin Hale and some of the players. We'll have captains Brock Jones and Charles Panchisin coming on later in the show. Justin, this is year 3 for you with the Rebels. Can you believe it already now? Year 3 getting underway?
It's crazy to think that it is year 3, as you mentioned. It's been quite the ride so far. A lot of fun, a lot of learning along the way. We've tried to do things, in our way in an organic fashion to kind of build a good foundation. And I think now here in year 3, hopefully we're ready to reap the benefits, reap the rewards from the work that we've established.
Absolutely, and of course, year 1, like any sports, a lot of learning experiences, I'm sure, for you and the team as well. And then year 2, you guys really turned it on after the new year, almost made a late push to a playoff spot. Have you seen that momentum from last season carry over into the start of this year?
Yeah, I think so. I would say going through what we went through last year, some adversity, coming out on the other side of it, understanding that we had the right people in the right seats to end the year, and they were able to really experience a playoff push and coming up a point short. I think it left, kind of an empty feeling, but it gave the players kind of that extra motivation heading into the offseason. So I would say this season, a lot of those guys are back, and they want to kind of prove that it wasn't a fluke, that we really were for real and that we're taking steps as a team and as a club. And so I think, early on that they've really showcased that.
Yeah, of course, you guys are currently sitting at 4-4-1 in the season so far. Obviously, I think for any team, first place to start naturally is opening night, but especially for the Rebels with the tragic loss of Matthew and Johnny Gaudreau during this offseason. What was that night like for you? Obviously, you worked with Matty on the coaching staff in the past as recently as last season. What was that night like for you and the players, and just navigating all the emotions that come with such a awkward and difficult moment?
It was gut-wrenching. It was very difficult. It was emotional, as you mentioned. We were privileged to have the Gaudreau family in attendance. I only borrowed Matty, in season, and he was awesome to work with, and I was very fortunate to have him a part of our staff and have him with us and get to know him. And I think the group kind of is in the same boat. They spend so much time with him, and we had players in his office, after practice, joking around and hanging out with him. And it was tough to have that, be the circumstance for a home opener. But I thought they did a pretty good job, managing their emotions. Again, there's no right way to handle a situation like that, but I thought they did the best they could, and we were able to, show some resiliency after falling kind of behind in that game. And overall, even though we didn't get the win, I think the resilience and the competitive spirit is something that, we valued, when Matt was here as a staff, and it's something that we continue to value, and, definitely tried to honor him the best we could in that game and in that weekend, and we will here through the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Of course, we've seen the Gaudreau jerseys on the bench this season. Just a reminder, of course, that Johnny and Matty still a huge part of the community here at Hollydale and hockey community as a whole in South Jersey. Yeah, as you mentioned, you guys were down big in the third period of that game, and then on Saturday night as well, and you were able to get 3 points out of possible 4 when you look at wound up with none. How important was that, and then also sweeping Johnstown the next weekend to get that season off on a good note?
I think a big part of early on in the season is finding that early momentum. So the fact that we were able to get off to a hot start, I think it kind of shows that our returners have taken a step. I think it shows our younger players that what we're trying to do actually can work. And so it brought validity to what we're trying to do. I thought the momentum now can hopefully continue to carry on, and we'll continue taking strides as a group moving forward. But it was a good way to start for sure.
Absolutely, and then obviously everyone looking forward, of course, to a home and home this weekend with New Jersey. You guys just coming off a series against a Maryland team that's off to a great start, went to the finals last year. Did you guys learn any lessons you feel like? I know obviously you lost 2 games, it seemed like you guys played really well on Friday. Did you learn anything from playing against such a high caliber team that you feel like your team can take from those games and try to apply it to their own style?
Yeah, anytime you lose a game as a competitor, it stings. But as a coach or just in hindsight, a loss or a failure is an opportunity to learn from our group. So I think we saw what we could do in spurts during the Maryland series, but ultimately, as you said, they've kind of set the standard as a club, as an organization of consistency. And so I thought our emotions kind of got the better of us on Saturday, and that affected our on-ice performance. And so, again, we're trying to take notes. They were in a similar situation on Friday night. They kept their composure, and they were able to kind of win the special teams battle. And Saturday, again, we didn't quite keep our composure, and we saw the outcome that we got. So definitely opportunity to learn, opportunity to grow, and we'll look to apply that this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, obviously you're 9 games, still a lot of season to go, and probably enough time to draw some early conclusions. Who are some guys on the team who have really stood out to you in a positive way so far for these first couple of series?
A lot of guys that I can name out, but I would say, you have our 3-year guys like Charles Panchisin, who's our leading scorer right now, Brock Jones. We had a couple additions to our off-season through the draft and tender process in Ruslan Jamaldinoff and Cesar Bjork. They've been key contributors so far for us 5-on-5 and on the power play. But then, again, you look at the returners like Billy Sheridan and Ryan Bunting, both local guys for us, both in their second year. They've taken nice steps. On the back end, you have guys returning in Luke Janviria, in Ryan Bates. We got Bryce Strand back from the USHL. We have newcomers, and kind of a youth movement with Joe Stauber, Spagnola, on and on. So I feel I should name everybody on the roster because I really am pleased with everybody top to bottom, and I think it's a good mixture for us of not only returning players but new, younger players that I think are going to contribute as the year continues.
We're going to speak with Charles Panchisin and Brock Jones in just a moment. Both were in the C this year. Why were they the right choice to be your captains for the season?
I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, that through this 3-year process, it has been a process. It's been trying to get the lay of the land. It's been trying to get the right players in the right seat on the bus. And Charles and Brock were guys that have been here since day one, since I came in. They've gone through some of the good, the highs, the lows, but they've been the right people off the ice and on the ice. They've learned what our culture is about. They go about their business the right way. So it was just kind of natural based on where they've come, where they're at now, who they are as people, who they are as players. It was kind of a natural fit.
All right, thanks so much, Coach. We'll be back to talk with Coach in just a few moments about the series with New Jersey coming up this weekend. Now we get to sit down with captains Charles Panchisin and Brock Jones and hear their thoughts on the season so far. All right, welcome back, everyone. Andrew McGuinness here with the captains of your Philadelphia Rebels, Brock Jones and Charles Panchisin. Guys, year 3 for you both with the Rebels. How's this year been feeling so far?
Yeah, it's exciting. We had a good start. I was really happy with our start. We went up to Blaine. I thought we played good hockey. We ran into 2 really hot teams, but it's a long season, and I'm really happy with our group right now. So I think we're going to take a big step this weekend against Titans and kind of really show where we are in the division this year. So.
Yeah, and obviously you guys made that big push late at the end of the season last year, almost making it into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Have you felt like some of the momentum from that second half surge carried over to the start of this year, especially with the good start you had at home?
Yeah, I feel like we had a lot of returning guys this year, so that kind of helps from last year, like bringing the momentum from last year and continuing that.
Yeah. And of course, heading into year 3, it's not just a big year for you guys on the ice, but off the ice, of course, Coach Hale named you both captains before the start of the season. What does that honor mean to you guys, and how does that affect you in the dressing room, trying to make sure you're leading the team in a positive way?
Yeah, we just show up to the rink every day. We try to always push the guys, but also bring the energy. Try to be in a good mood no matter what. I know those young guys look up to us, and we're both really honored to lead for the Rebels. And I think both of our goals this season is just number 1, make playoffs, and obviously win the Robertson Cup. Being third-year guys, we've missed playoffs 2 years in a row, and it stings every year. So I think this being both our last years, it's a big time to step up, and we both want to make it as far as we can. So.
Yeah, you've certainly been doing that on the ice as well, both off to really strong starts offensively. Charles, I know you've been racking up the assists so far this season. What makes you such a great playmaker out there on the ice?
I've always pretty much been like a playmaker in my hockey career, but I think I just see the ice pretty well. Very unselfish with the puck, always pass first guy, so I think that brings assists to the table.
Yeah, and Brock, obviously you have a different style. Of course, it's like you've been really tenacious to start the season, going to the front of the net, scoring some goals at point-blank range. You're not afraid to lay the body and get engaged physically. Where does that tenacity in your game come from?
Yeah, I've always been a really physical player. I like stirring it up. It's fun. I like bringing energy for the team. I think nowadays hockey lacks a little bit of the kind of like super physical, get in there, be dirty. And I think that's a big element of why some teams have success. And I try to bring that every night. I try to get the guys going. I like, throwing my body, big hits, and I also like getting in the front of the net and trying to score some dirty goals. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you guys back home on Friday, home and home this weekend with the New Jersey Titans, the closest geographic rival, I'm sure. What are you expecting coming into that series?
We just got swept, so I'm excited to see how we respond to that. I mean, that's important. You're going to lose games in this league; it's bound to happen. So responding to that, to those losses, is important, and I'm expecting to respond pretty well.
Yeah, I know they went off to a little bit of a slow start, but anyone can beat anyone in this league, so we're making sure everyone's prepared for tough battle this weekend. So.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for sitting down to talk with us. Charles Panchisin, Brock Jones, the captains of your Philadelphia Rebels, getting set for a big series this weekend with the Titans. All right, back here with head coach Justin Hale, home and home coming up for you guys this weekend against the New Jersey Titans, who just found out a couple days ago are going to have big changes to their coaching staff. How difficult does that make preparing for this series for you and the staff?
It is, but it's not. It is because you don't know structurally what they're potentially going to be doing with a new coaching staff. But as we've already talked in the locker room, as we've talked as a coaching staff, we still have a lot to clean up in our own backyard. And so for us heading into the weekend, we really just need to focus on areas we can improve. And I think that's kind of been the message so far, and that's what we're trying to do in our practice week and our preparation is let's clean up and let's worry about what we can control. And then Friday, it's going to come down to kind of some of that feeling out process, and we'll learn more heading into Saturday, having played them for a game. But again, the early message is let's control what we can control, and that's our own game.
Yeah, on that note, obviously you're your closest geographic rival. I'm sure emotions will be running high, rivalry series. How do you make sure to keep those emotions in check and that you're playing with them in a positive way and not letting them kind of take over your game?
Yeah, it's something we talk about all the time. We have a particular kind of battle day in our practice week on Mondays usually, and that's an area we discuss of how do you toe that competitive line or that competitive maturity between, revving up and giving it your all and not crossing the line and taking penalties. And again, we saw that this past weekend against Maryland. We need to continue to grow in that area. And so I think it's just it's an ongoing process and trying to toe that line.
All right, and we're so excited, of course, for this series coming up this weekend. Home and home, Rebels will host the Titans here on Friday at 7:30 at Holiday House Arena, and the Rebels make the trip up north to finish off that series. We'll be back next week to talk with Coach Hale about that series and, of course, everything that you need to know about your Philadelphia Rebels. I'm Andrew McGuinness. Have a great day.